So we kick things off with, we're going to say welcome to At Our Table podcast, Lynn Smith.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Our first real guest that's outside of the family.
Oh.
Yes, but you are family.
I'm family. I am family.
Yeah,
I always tell
you
Tia,
are
you're
family.
my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a little background info on how we know each other. I was telling Lindsay this story the other day. I took a job at UNH in 1998. I believe I was 26 years old.
My age.
Your age. And Lynn was one of my first employees. I was her manager, and we worked in the telecommunications department. So we go back that far. And Lynn, what would you add to the story of our...
I remember the day you came in to interview.
You do?
Really?
Yes, I do. You had a beautiful gray outfit on, and I thought, oh, she looks so nice. I hope she's going to get the job. And it worked out beautifully, and it was just magic from day one.
And we've become dear, dear friends.
We've been through so much.
Yes, we have. Yeah, well, we're going to get into some of that.
Wow, so you've known each other since you were my age.
Yes. Yep, and now I'm 52.
And I would say that Tina and I are like best friends, but also Tina's become a mentor. It's always good to get somebody that is much smarter than you and much everything more than you. And I always use Tina as as a mentor. Like we went to classes at night, and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But
we've done a lot of travel together. Yeah. So we're going to start with kind of looking back over some of the beginning parts of your life. But when you look back, what are some of your most memorable moments, like when you were a kid, maybe starting then, or maybe when you were a teenager?
So growing up in my small little town in New Hampshire was like happy days. Mm-hmm. It was like the best childhood I could ever have. And so I grew up in a beautiful white colonial surrounded by 100 acres of land. And I just had the best friends, the best parents, the best grandparents. And I had so much fun growing up. So much fun up in this little town. And also, I was very lucky that my grandparents, one set of grandparents had a cottage on Lake Sunapee, which all my cousins would convene. So Lake Sunapee is a big part of my life with my cousins and my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. And another big part is my other grandparents had rented a camp and had boats on Lake Winnipesaukee. So sports and water and being around a lot of people. My parents were very outgoing and friendly. We had people around our house all the time. So I would say growing up in a small town with a lot of fun and happy people and being on the lakes and just being active, it's very important.
How would your family members from back in those days, if we had to say, tell us about Linny? No, what was your nickname when you
Lindy.
were... Lindy.
Lindy.
Yes, my real name is Sandra Lynn. Nobody knows that.
Really?
So when I was born...
Middle name Lynn?
Yes.
So why do you go by Lynn?
My mother and father just call me Lynn. My mother's name is Elizabeth Ann, and she always went by Ann. Crazy story. So
Sandra Lynn?
Sandra Lynn. Nobody knows Sandra. So I go by Lynn. But growing up, my brother was Billy, Lindy, and Judy. So I was Lindy. I was always Lindy growing up. Yes.
You're so not a Sandra.
Yeah.
No.
So I don't know. It just feels weird to me. But
That's
some people would joke and call me Sandra or Sandy or Sunny or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's always Lindy growing up.
And how would they describe Lindy if I was to ask them that question? What was Lindy like when she was a young girl or a teenager?
Silly, fun, friendly, outgoing, active, always with my friends, very involved in high school, probably a little piss and vinegar, just a lot of fun, which I inherit from my parents and my grandparents. So the town I grew up in was a very fun town.
Where did you grow up?
Pittsfield, New Hampshire.
Okay, so
it's
like
right
how
outside
far?
of Concord. My parents grew up in Concord. My father was a dentist, and my mother volunteered her life away. They were both involved in Men of Rotary and Women of Rotary, and they just did a lot for a lot of people, which everybody in that town did.
Uh-huh.
And so my mother was the head of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, or Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and Girl Scouts. And they were very active in the Men of Rotary and Women of Rotary. And
what is that?
It's a civic organization where you give back to the town.
Okay.
It's an international national society.
Okay.
And they were very active in all sorts of things, and so we just tagged along and did whatever they did, and so we were just very active kids. I was always outside riding horses, playing with my friends, always with my friends.
Yeah. Were you close with your parents?
Very.
And your siblings?
Yes. We did a lot. My brother's 2 years older than I am, and he was a great big brother, older brother, and I did a lot with him. My sister's 4 years younger, so not as much. We did hang out with some of the same friends, but I hung out more with my brother and his friends and my friends, and just everybody was just so close.
Yeah.
You know, we'd bebop from one house to the other, and
yeah.
we'd make up our own fun. It was country. I mean, we made up our own fun.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to do anything fancy. We just would meet out in the field, or we'd go sliding, or snowmobiling, or we just had so much fun.
Take us back to a day that you can think about. You're in Pittsfield, New Hampshire. You're a little girl.
A little girl?
You're a little girl. Take us back to a day you can remember in Pittsfield, New Hampshire as a little girl.
Well, I'll tell you a day, like up on the name of the place that I grew up.
Okay.
My father's name was Thurston, Dr. Thurston John Carpenter.
Thurston?
Thurston.
His first name?
Yes, and so we called it Thirsty Hill, Thursty, Thirsty Hill. And so we had a huge colonial with an attached shed with an attached barn.
Okay.
And so we had many people that would come to our house on a daily basis in the 1950s. We would have the milkman stop by. We would have the bread man stop by. My mother had Hopi, who would help clean the house and babysit us and do everything, wash and iron, and just help my mother because it was a huge house. And she did it for several families in the town.
Okay.
And so any given day, my mother would have coffee in the kitchen, and the milkman, the bread man, my father's friend Jim Walker would be there. Hopi would be there. It was like happy days. It was amazing. And Hopi would be helping my mother, and my friends would be around, and we had a huge barn, and if it was raining, we would go out in the barn, and we used to have a lot of stray cats that would have kittens way up high. So I was a real tomboy. So I would hang out in the barn with my friends, and there was we had a rope swing in the barn, and we would swing on that rope all day long. We would play basketball, we would jump in the hay, we would find the kittens. It was just friends coming and going all day long. Or my father would come home and say, hey, come with me, and we'd go down and visit his friends. Or if it was snowing out, I remember my father, we had a little red Jeep, and we learned how to drive very young because we had all the land to drive on. And
who's policing?
Nobody. That was the fun of it. We learned to be independent very young. In those days, you could just go off, ride your bike, or do whatever, not like today. And I remember my father saying, come on, let's go down to the Jenish's house or the Levitt's house, and we would hop in the car and we would go visit. Or if it was snowing out, my father would go, let's go plow everybody out, like the widows and the priests and the nuns and anybody that needed it. And you don't charge, you just do it out of the goodness of your heart. And it was just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had friends around.
Awesome. Tell us a bit more about your parents and their parenting style. What do you remember about how they parented you and your brother and sister?
My mother was the stricter one. My father was very easy. If you wanted anything, you go to my father.
Yeah.
And even though he was a dentist, we had M&Ms, potato chips, Coke, Pepsi. My mother would make chocolate chip cookies and brownies every day. She was always baking. The cookie jar was always full. There was always people around our house. And I'm sorry, what was the question again?
You're talking about like what their parenting style was.
My mother was, they had high expectations. They had high expectations. Like we knew what they expected from us. But in those days, you wanted to do the right thing for your parents. Mm-hmm. You know, you wanted to make them proud.
Yeah.
Because my parents were so nice and so fun.
Right.
That, I wanted to do the right thing and make them proud. And my brother was a really good role model for me, and I wanted to be like him.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister, she was 4 years younger, so she was in another world,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But my parents they had a lot of friends in town, but they also had a lot of friends in Concord where they grew up. But I would say they weren't too strict,
Mm-hmm.
but strict enough.
Mm.
You know, we kind of knew what was expected, not that we always did it, but...
What was one thing you tried to make them proud of you? Was it academics? Was it sports?
Everything.
Was it how you helped around the house?
Well, you know, I mean, they were such good role models without even trying, because they came from really good families.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandparents were our families we all lived close.
Mm-hmm.
My cousins kind of lived far away, except for the ones in Concord. They were younger, but my aunt and uncle lived in Rochester, New York, with cousins, 6 of them that we would spend our summers at Lake Sunapee with. And they were all just really good people. I was very fortunate, and I knew it. I knew I was really lucky. And so I just, you know, you kind of want to be like your parents. You know, they're good people, they're kind people, they care about other people, and you kind of want to grow up and be like them.
Besides kindness, can you think of other lessons that your parents taught you that have stuck with you into your adult life?
Yes, my father was very positive, a glass half full. He was always very positive about everything. He never said a bad word about anybody. And at dinner table, we had a beautiful dining room that was all glass, and you could look out for 50 miles. And it was just, we were always around nature, you know, it was beautiful. Yeah. And if somebody said something about somebody, my father goes, whoever it was in the family that said it, because we weren't gossipers, but he says, it takes all kinds of people in the world. It's a good thing we're not all alike. You know, so you could never really say anything bad about anybody, because my father would come around and say,
we need them.
We need them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And then everything in moderation. My father was really kind of my hero, you know, because he was such a bigger than life type guy.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, you know, everything in moderation. I live by that today. You know, I think about my father every single day. And my mother, luckily, I had her until she was 100 years plus. I just lost her a year ago. So I had her all these years, and I learned from her right up until the day she passed.
Wow.
I was always learning from her. And
Yeah.
they were both really fun,
Uh-huh.
but not perfect, you know?
Yeah.
And so they allowed you to make mistakes, and they were just wonderful people.
What did you appreciate about them most, each of them?
Well, they gave you a lot of opportunities. If you wanted to do something, they were there, driving you to ballet and tap, baton, driving. In high school, we didn't have a bus, so we had to drive my brother's high school baseball team all around the state. My mother drove everything. My father was involved. Anything we wanted to do, you know, my parents were there supporting us and just giving us any opportunity that we wanted.
Yeah.
And they were kind of civic leaders, because they did a lot in the town. But very quietly, you know, they just did it naturally, you know, because they cared about people. But everybody in the town did that. It was a wonderful place to grow up. It was kind of like Happy Days.
I was going to say, it sounds like it's like from a movie.
No, it really...
The milkman, the bread man.
We could make a movie about my town.
It's crazy.
And I think everybody that I grew up with would say the same thing, because we all knew that we had it good then, you know.
At what point did you begin to see beyond Pittsfield? I mean, it sounds just like such a wonderful place to live and to grow up and raise children, but you have had an adventurous life. So do you remember kind of when that first started for you to start looking beyond? Well, and there's our first interruption, Maggie.
Hello, Maggie.
Oh, thank you, Maggie.
Hello, Maggie.
Thank you.
Hi, Mags. Okay.
Yes.
Maggie, want to go in Aiden's room? Want to go in Aiden's room?
That is so funny.
That's insane that she just opens
Actually,
the door.
I think it's kind of cute. I think
Yeah.
you should make it part of it a little bit.
Climbing over the table.
All right, so let's start again. So at what point do you remember thinking of a life outside of Pittsfield, New Hampshire?
Well, I knew I loved living up on that hill. I loved it. And there were kind of hills around us, and I just felt so safe and secure there, you know, from the rest of the world. And I never wanted to move off that hill. I loved it. But I knew that there was a life beyond that.
How did you know that? Where had you traveled with your family? Like what?
We
what
went
gave
to
you...
we didn't really travel much because we did, our home and our grandparents, and then we would go to the lakes a lot. My aunt and uncle lived in Rochester, New York.
Right.
So we would go to Rochester, New York and visit them, which was a big trip. That was a big trip. We did go to the State Fair, and
Where
the
was
New
that?
York State Fair.
Oh, the New York.
Which is with Shea Stadium, where they hold, lots of events now. And I ended up living near there when I flew for the airlines later on, which was really funny. So I went to the New York State Fair, and we got out. But I always knew that I wanted to, I don't know, I was just interested in everything. So I just always...
You knew that you didn't want to stay there.
Well, I mean, I loved Pittsfield. I loved my life so much. But as I got older and, you hear about things and you see things, I just knew that I would travel. I knew I wanted to travel,
What was your first memory of being an adult and being away from Pittsfield for kind of an extended period of time? What's your first memory there?
Probably when I went to college, maybe? Mm-hmm. When I went to college, I went to Endicott Junior College in Beverly, Mass. It was on the ocean. A lot of my friends went to the University of New Hampshire, but I said, everybody's going there. I want to go someplace where I don't know anybody, and I want to go to someplace different. And so, and it was a 2-year school. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to a 4-year school. It was right on the ocean. Again, the water, theme the water. I love the water. And I wanted to meet new people. And it was a perfect match for me because I loved it. I was on the train a lot going into Boston. I met people right away that I clicked with. The first day of college, I met one of my very best friends to this day. We were in the English placement tests. Wow. And her pencils were all broken, and I had all my sharp pencils and everything, and I handed her pencils, and she said thank you, and we walked out at the same town, and at the same time of the test, and we walked out, and I swear it was fate, because we've been best friends ever since. Our daughters were in each other's weddings, our grandchildren know each other, and she was what you call a townie. Okay. She lived at home with her parents. This beautiful family in Beverly, Mass, the Gilligan family. They're very famous there. They're a huge hockey family. There's 10 in the family. Beautiful, nice people. And I've just been so lucky to be surrounded by, find the most wonderful friends. Yeah. And my freshman year, I absolutely loved it. My sophomore year, which was my senior year, because it was a junior college, my roommate didn't come back. Okay. We went to a different dorm, which was like a castle. It was right on the water. Henry Cabot Lodge, a famous politician, was our neighbor. We had our own private beach. I mean, we had a winding staircase. And somebody else that I met there, she didn't have a roommate, so she ended up, I said, why don't you come and live with me? So Patty ended up moving, and she was from Rochester, New York, where my cousins were from. So we just hit it off right away, and she's
still one of your best friends.
She's one of my very best friends to this day.
That's crazy.
We were in each other's wedding. I mean, we're just best friends.
Yeah. So we're like in the early 1970s,
yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how soon did you become an airline stewardess? At what point in your life was that?
Flight attendant.
A flight attendant. Okay.
Yes. So I transferred with some of my friends from Endicott to the University of New Hampshire. And I had gotten in there, so that was,
After your second year?
Well, it was a junior college, so I went 2 years. I graduated from Endicott Junior College. It's now a 4-year college now. And then we transferred to the University of New Hampshire. And I was actually dating one of my brother's fraternity brothers, who ended up being my husband.
Really?
Very nice, yes. And so I did a year there. And then he graduated, and then I wanted to go in the airlines in the worst way. And I was lucky enough to get an interview, which is really hard, and I ended up getting the job.
How'd you get the interview?
You apply, and, you just...
Okay, but you didn't know anybody?
No. And so I ended up getting the interview, and I got the job, and so I had to go tell my father. When he was doing dentistry, I went in the office and said, Dad, I don't think I'm going to go back my senior at UNH. He couldn't get mad at me. And so he was very kind about it. And so they let me do my thing. They let me go to Overland Park, Kansas, to training, 6 weeks of training, which was it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. One of the hardest things.
Why?
To that point in my life. Because you had to get a 97% on all your tests.
What were the tests?
They were the tests on each airplane that you had to fly. And the binders were this thick. Nobody slept for 6 weeks. You had to know safety. You had to know the plane inside out. There was zero tolerance for anything. If you cross your eyes wrong, you were gone.
Wow.
So there was only like an eighth of the class was left to graduate.
Wow.
And it was really, really hard.
You succeeded.
And I succeeded. And so, and so that was a big deal. You know, I was really excited. And then they dumped us off. We wanted to know where our base was going to be. So my base was in New York City. So I remember them. I flew home to see my boyfriend then, who later became my husband. And then after that, I flew to New York City to meet all of my classmates. And they put us up in a hotel and they said, okay, go find a place to live. And we're all like peeking out of the hotel like, oh my God, this is really New York City. And 5 of us found a place to live. And we had to be between LaGuardia Airport, Kennedy Airport, and the Newark Airport. So we ended up living in Kew Gardens.
Okay.
Yeah, and the beginning of Long Island.
Yeah.
And so one of my roommates was from Long Island, so she really kind of helped us.
Knew.
Yeah, and so we all got our outfits and we got our hair,
Man,
and I'll
did you have
never
the best
forget the
outfit?
first time I was the last person to be called for a flight. So we would all get excited. The first person that was called for her flight, bye, good luck.
Yeah.
I was the last person. But it was a great experience.
Where did you travel? What's some of your most memorable
So I was
flights?
domestic only.
Okay.
Because I was very junior. So
How old were you?
I was like 21.
Wow.
Yeah. I flew to where my friends lived. So I had a friend that lived in Washington, D.C., so Barbara Fries. So I would fly down to Washington, D.C., and I would see her. I also flew a lot to the West Coast. I would do a 3-day stay. I would fly to San Francisco, L.A., San Francisco, and then back to New York. There were a lot of little milk runs, but I flew all over the country. It was wonderful.
Oh.
Got to see everywhere.
Okay, so you were dating your husband, your
Yes.
boyfriend that became your husband.
Yes.
While you were working.
And he played professional hockey at the time.
Okay.
So he got called up he was owned by the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the World Hockey League started. So a lot of the NHL players left the NHL and went to the new WHL, World Hockey League.
Yeah.
And he was one of them. And he got called by the New England Whalers, which was out of Boston.
Okay, so he graduated college and
Yes.
immediately started playing professional hockey.
Yes.
Wow.
And you were dating, right?
We were dating.
Did you ever have any period of time where you weren't dating, or were you guys consistently once?
No, we consistently
Okay.
dated. Yes.
Okay.
We consistently dated.
And he was playing while you were
flying
a flight
for the
attendant.
airlines.
So how would you communicate? You would
Well,
call
we
on
didn't
the
have cell
phone?
phones then.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the phones.
Yeah.
And we would arrange our schedules so I would have time off. I would come to Boston and stay with him and, go to his games. I would sit behind the scenes at the Boston Gardens where the wives would sit. And there was a girl that came up to me and said, I'm president of the Guy Smith fan club, and I'm knitting an
That's your
Afghan for
husband's-
you.
your
Yes,
husband's
I'm
name.
knitting an Afghan for you. And it was like crazy. And he was fresh out of college. There were NHL stars that had gone from the NHL to the WHL.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of stars that he was playing with, and I was just a little peon, with all these famous people. And it was really fun. And then we would arrange to have time off, and I'd meet him in Florida, or we'd fly down to the islands, or, it was fun. But I do feel bad because they won the AVCO Cup, which they won the championship their first year. And friends of his, who are dear friends of mine to this day, went to New York City to see him play and win the AVCO Cup, which was a big deal.
What year was that?
1971, 1972, probably 72.
What was it that drew you to Guy? Like, what did you like about him? What attracted you to him?
Well, at first, I met him, and we were both with somebody else, and he kept, coming to me, and I didn't really like him at first, and he kept calling me up and asking him out, and I kept saying no, and so then I went to watch him play hockey, and I think that's when I was like,
You're like, fine.
Okay, yeah, I think I kind of like this guy.
Yeah.
And so I told one of my friends, tell him to ask me out again. So he did, and the rest was history. But I remember my friend Jean, the one that I met the very first day of Endicott, she comes from a hockey family. So we went up to watch him once, and we sat in the corner, and she says, I think he looked up at you. How girls do that.
Yeah.
And afterwards I said, did you see me there? And he goes, yeah, I did. So.
When did you know you were going to be married? Or did it take you some time?
Well, he actually asked to marry me about 3 or 4 months after we started dating. He asked me to marry him.
And you were in college still?
We were in college. And I said, I felt terrible saying no. But I was not ready to get married. And
so you said no?
I said no.
Did he propose, got down on one knee?
Yes.
And you said get up?
On one knee and wanted me to marry him. And I said, I love you, but I'm not ready. I have too many things I want to do in my life.
Yeah.
And he was devastated. But I said, you have things you want to do too. And I have things I want to do, And we both love each other. It'll work out. So I took a chance by saying no.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But,
and you stayed together?
Yeah, we stayed together. Okay. I knew that I was not ready, and I knew I had things I wanted to. I wanted to see the world,
right.
I wanted to fly for the airlines, at least try.
Yeah.
See if I could. So it all worked out.
Tell us a little bit more about Guy's heritage.
So, Guy Smith, the Smith is from, he's full-blooded Native American, Mohawk, Iroquois. He came down to UNH on a hockey scholarship.
From where?
From Canada. Okay. He was playing Junior A for the Ottawa 67s, which is a junior team, and he was supposed to go to Kobe College because the coach drafted him to go to Kobe College. And then Charlie Holt, who's a famous UNH hockey coach, took the job at the University of New Hampshire, so he called my husband up and said, God, I hope you don't mind, and I'd love to have you come with me because I really want you. I'm going to the University of New Hampshire, and I can get you the same deal. Will you come with me? And he goes, sure. He didn't know where UNH was or anything about it.
Yeah.
And in those days, the highways weren't even really built, so it was a long ride for him to come down to the States with his parents. So he was in my brother's fraternity, and I met him through my brother.
What were some of your favorite memories when you were just a couple before you had the kids?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. Oh, at UNH, the hockey games, the fun with all the friends, We would walk around Durham at night, really late at night when it was snowing, and, I would teach him how to ski and play tennis and do all the things that he didn't do. And then he loved baseball and hockey, and then he loved to golf. Most hockey players are really good golfers. So
really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
A good eye-hand coordination.
Okay.
Yeah. So just, just with a lot of our friends and, teaching him new things and introducing him to my little town of Pittsfield, which he ended up loving, and all my crazy friends in that town. Mm-hmm. And we would camp a lot. We used to camp and hike a lot. We used to like to hike up in the White Mountains and camp a lot. And so we had a lot of fun.
And he was a veterinarian, wasn't he?
So he was playing professional hockey, and I was flying for the airlines, and he played a couple years. He got his teeth knocked out. So one day he was on the first string playing in Boston for the New England Whalers, and the next day, it's just like any sport. You're down in the minor leagues down in Florida, and he gets his teeth knocked out. And my father's a dentist, so he calls my father up,
right.
Yeah. And he just decided, he'd been thinking about it for a while. He goes, I'm not in control of my destiny. I'm just a piece of meat, really, I want to have a control of my destiny. I want to go back to school to be a veterinarian. So he called me up. I was flying for the airlines. He goes, I want you to call UNH and get my transcripts. I'm going to go back to school. So he did. I was so proud of him. So he went back to school. He quit professional hockey. And he went back to school, got his teeth fixed.
For
great. And he went back to school and took some classes over and spent a lot of time in the library and raised his marks. And he applied to veterinary college in Guelph, Ontario. And we got married. And he didn't get in the first time he applied. He was on the wait list.
Okay.
But 2 weeks later, they notified him and they said, "You're in." Somebody decided not to come.
Wow.
So
break.
right after we got married, we moved up to Ontario, Canada, Guelph, Ontario. And it was really special because we didn't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to rely on each other to navigate everything. My parents were wonderful about helping us pack, and one of my father's best friends was a mover, so he helped us pack everything in the U-Haul, and we inventoried everything, and we drove up to Guelph, Ontario. We found an apartment right away, and we made the best friends ever. And I was homesick at first, but there's nice people no matter where you go, and there's fun things to do no matter where you go. So we met people that we're still friendly. I'm still friendly with today. So it was great. So he did 6 years. We lived up there for 6 years. So he did a pre-vet semester when we first went up, and then my brother gave us a trip out to Alta, Utah for a wedding present. So we drove across country to Alta, Utah, and went skiing out there with my brother and all his ski patrol friends. And then we went back for 6 years.
Wow.
And were you still working for the airline?
I gave up my job for the airlines because I was based in New York City and we lived in Guelph, Ontario. And I just said I don't want to only start I don't want to start my marriage that way with not seeing my husband.
Right.
So I got a job working for a tennis club.
Wow.
And it was really great. And I worked my way up, so I was kind of like the general manager. And it was an air-inflated dome bubble.
Okay.
And so on the side, they had me do marketing for it was called Barracuda company out of Sweden. So they did marketing. So the people that ran the tennis club also had a construction company and a marketing company. So I was doing marketing for them, but I also was running round robins, running the tennis club.
Did you play tennis?
Yes, I played tennis.
Okay.
And so it was really nice because, I gave my husband his first tennis racket, and I mean he was the most natural athlete of any person I've ever met in my life. And so we were a good match because I love sports and he loves sports, and we both love to compete. So he loved the tennis club. And so we met the nicest people through the Wellington Rackets Club.
Okay.
And we met all the nicest people in Guelph.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up babysitting people's kids and house sitting people's houses. This is before our children were born. And then he would go to, he was in medical school. So we met a ton of friends our age in medical school. And a lot of the veterinarians, there were a lot of women in school that day too, which was great. And so, but a lot of the guys, he was also playing hockey on the side in Brantford, Ontario.
Just like for fun?
Yeah, well, no, to make money. To make money. Because I worked and he worked, and, he was going to school full time. So he played hockey on the side with people that had just gotten out of the NHL. So he made money in Brantford, where Wayne Gretzky's from.
Okay.
So he played in the rink where Wayne Gretzky grew up.
Wow.
And his community, his Six Nations Indian reservation, was right outside of Brantford. So we would go down and visit a lot of his relatives down there.
Can you tell me more about that? You say he's full Native American.
Yeah, so both his parents are full-blooded Native American. And they met and they grew up on the reservation, which is in Oswego, Ontario, about 55 miles southwest of Toronto.
Okay.
And they got married, and his father started working for the government of Canada in the Department of Indian Affairs, so they moved when he was 7. His father built his house, and he moved when he was 7, and then I think they moved to Toronto, and then they kept moving throughout Ontario until he got a higher position in Ottawa, and that's where he ended up, going to middle school and high school, and then that's where he played junior college. But they are from the Six Nations Indian Reservation. They're Mohawk Iroquois. My father-in-law was one of 10. His name was Leslie Smith, and his brother Harry Smith was actually Tonto from the Lone Ranger.
Oh,
and he
fun
was a
fact.
very famous lacrosse player. And his grandfather would call him Silver Heels because he would play lacrosse in his bare feet, and he would run really fast, and it looked like, Silver Heels.
Yeah.
So he went to Hollywood, and his stage name became J. Silver Heels. And he played Tonto in the Lone Ranger.
I remember that
Yes.
show. Yeah.
And so when Guy was playing hockey at UNH, people used to call him all sorts of names and Tonto and things like that. Sometimes he'd like it, sometimes he wouldn't like it.
Yeah. At any point, did you live on the reservation with Guy?
No.
Okay.
No.
What is the reservation like?
It's the largest reservation in Canada. You wouldn't really even know.
Like, does it just look like a normal?
It's like a little town that you drive through. You wouldn't really know unless you see the sign. There's different parts to the reservation,
Okay.
and they now call it a community. They say the community, and now that sometimes they call it the Grand River. They do have big traditional longhouses.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on what part of the community you go to. It's very flat. I grew up in lush New Hampshire. It was very flat and very dusty, and but a lot of Guy's relatives still live there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun. We used to go visit his grandparents, and his grandfather had a little shop next to the arena. They lived right next to the little ice arena because everybody played hockey in Canada. Everybody. And a lot of the little Native American children were really good athletes, and they had an arena and a lot of sports from it. His grandfather would sharpen all the skates, so we would go down. And his grandfather was blonde and blue-eyed.
Really?
And so
Wow.
I would tease him all the time, and I said, "Don't you tell me you're full-blooded," because he would tease me because I was blonde and blue-eyed, So I would tease him right back.
Oh.
This might be like stupid of me to
No,
ask,
there's
but
no such stupid question.
do they have traditional Native American like ceremonies? And,
They do.
And
They absolutely do.
okay.
And I'm actually going up to one in the end of July with my whole family. We're going up because my son, Jesse, went to Colgate University to play golf. He was captain of his golf team. And he ended up studying Native American history. And he's very much into the culture. And he actually lives in the community up there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he likes to volunteer a lot and help the Native American youth out. And he works for the world's largest indigenous-owned company in the world, GRE, Grand River Enterprises. And so I am going to go up. And he's learning so much more about his heritage than I could ever teach him.
Right.
And my husband really loved living in New Hampshire. He was very proud to be Native American, but he never really taught our children.
He wasn't as
He was
involved?
proud of it. He wasn't as involved in his
Okay.
community. And we did go up to family reunions, but my children didn't really know that much about it until after he passed, really. Sadly.
So you have 2 children. Let's talk
Yes,
about motherhood
yes.
for a bit.
Yes.
And when did you and Guy decide to become parents? Did you decide together? Or what?
Yes, we
Tell
did.
us that.
Yes, of course we did. So when he was in veterinary college, in veterinary school, a lot of Native Americans, they have their families young, and they have them early, and his parents were really young, and all his cousins had kids early, but a lot of our college friends were starting to have kids, but it's a personal decision. And so we decided when we were about 25, 26 that we wanted to, had been married for 3 years. We traveled, we'd seen a lot. I
So
traveled
crazy
with
at
the
this age.
airlines. He traveled with hockey, and we had gone on vacations together. And we just said, we want to be young parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I love kids, and we both really wanted to be parents. So first try, and
Wow.
we got lucky. Yes.
So you become pregnant with Jamie.
Yes, in Canada.
Yes.
That's your daughter.
And my daughter, yes. And so we lived in Canada for 6 years, and she was born up there.
Wow.
And it was Labor Day weekend. She was born on September 1st, Labor Day weekend, and we were all by ourselves. And it was really nice because it was just the 2 of us. His parents lived 6 hours away in Ottawa. My family lived in New Hampshire, 14 hours away. So, it was really special. We had a beautiful little girl born, and he was the best father ever. He was so in love with his children. he just couldn't do enough. My sister came up to see me a couple of weeks after she was born, and she just couldn't believe how good Guy was with her.
It was just in him.
Yes, he just loves,
natural.
he loved his family so much.
So is Jamie a Canadian citizen?
She's a U.S. citizen born abroad.
Okay. Oh.
But
Okay.
being Native American, 50%, there's treaties where if you are Native American, you're supposed to be able to go back and forth across the border, and nobody's supposed to ask you anything. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So she had access to go across all the time, but we did have paperwork.
Okay.
And because sometimes they would bother us. But my son was born in New Hampshire, and he lives up there now, so
Yeah.
he can go back and forth freely, which is nice.
What was motherhood like for you?
Bliss, pure bliss. I just was, it was probably the biggest high of my life to have children. I just remember Guy and I just being, that was when we were the happiest, when we had our children. After each baby was born, I mean, both of us, we just couldn't believe how much we loved it. And
What were the kids like? Were they good kids? Were they active? Were they...
Jamie walked when she
friends?
was 9 months old. She never crawled. She was
Wow.
a chunky little thing. She never crawled. She just walked. And Jessie walked really early too. Very active. Jamie had colic, so she was a very fussy baby. But my Guy was amazing. He said, "Let me have her," and he would bounce her on his shoulder and walk for hours. I breastfed, so she would have to come back to me every 2 hours. But he would even go play poker with his classmates and bring her next door, and then of course when I had to feed her, he would bring her back. But he was amazing. She was very colicky. Jessie was not. But, and Jessie was named after a Native American child that my husband had seen doing a nutrition study for the Department of Indian Affairs. He used to work for the Department of Indian Affairs in the summers in between years, when he was in college. And he traveled all over Canada, and he saw this one little boy, and he said, "If I ever have a son, I want to name him after that little boy." So that's why, that's where the name Jessie came from.
What did
Yes,
being a
excuse me.
mother, what did it teach you about yourself?
It's not an easy job, as all mothers know. What did it teach me about myself? That's a good question. I guess that you can go without very little sleep, which I am a sleeper. I love to sleep.
Me too.
But you remember those days,
I remember
right, when
those
they
days.
would keep
Jamie
you-
was not a sleeper. Jessie was. Jamie was not a sleeper. I could go with very little sleep, and really just how much I loved it,
Yeah.
Um,
So how far apart in age are Jamie and Jessie?
2 years. We wanted them close.
Okay, so you had Jamie
Yes.
and then moved back to New Hampshire?
And I
had
got
Jessie?
pregnant with Jessie.
Okay.
And then we moved when my husband graduated. We moved back. So my mother had read an article in the newspaper when Guy was in vet school about an equine clinic in Rochester, New Hampshire, and so she cut it out and mailed it up to us. And so Guy said, "I think I'd like to work there in the summers." So he wrote Dr. Jim Burns, who started this equine clinic, which had a swimming pool for racehorses. He was way ahead of his time.
Wow.
In Rochester, New Hampshire. And my husband wanted to major in equine, horses only, which is very akin to Native Americans.
I was going to say.
Very akin to Native
yeah.
Americans. And he would, so he wrote the letter. He goes, "I'm going to fly you home because you can talk anybody into anything." And I said, "Oh, thank you." So I get to fly home and see my family with my daughter, cause so Jamie and I flew home, and I went down to see Dr. Burns, and he was a character. And at first he said no, but I did talk him into it. I said, "He'll work for free. He'll do anything. We'll live with my parents. He'll work for free." And he was a big fan of UNH hockey, so that did help. But at first he wasn't so sure about that. But I said, he doesn't want to make any money. He wants the experience.
Right.
And it worked, and so we hired him. So that worked out well. And so when we graduated and moved back from Guelph, Ontario, my husband was one of the first ones to get a job, and he had worked for him already for a couple of summers because we had come home and lived with my parents in the summers. My parents were just so wonderful to us. And it was a match made in heaven. They got along so well. And
didn't Guy end up becoming part owner?
Yes. And so when Dr. Burns
clinic?
wanted to sell the Rochester Equine Clinic, he sold it to Dr. Myrie and my husband. And Dr. Myrie's wife, so we were very close. And so Randy, Dr. Myrie's wife, she and I both did the books for the business.
Okay.
And I would do the social events, of course.
Nice.
And did event planning and things like that. Which I had done when I was managing the tennis Wellington Rackets Club.
Right.
And so that worked out really well. Yeah.
So then you ended up moving back to New Hampshire.
So we ended up moving back to New Hampshire.
And raised your kids there.
And my son was born in Dover when
Okay.
we moved back. Yes.
Okay.
And we ended up settling in Barrington, New Hampshire, and running into an old friend of mine that I had met when I was teaching exercise class, and she ended up having a daughter the same age as Jamie. And so she and I, my friend Sally Varley, we ended up just clicking, and her husband and my husband, you know, we just ended up best friends, and all of us, and the kids they're my best friends to this day. And our kids, well, Sarah ended up giving the eulogy for Jamie. I mean, just best friends for years. And we just loved Barrington. We loved the community. I liked the small country town, which was very similar to the town that I grew up in. So that was really fun.
We're going to talk more about friendships in a few minutes, but you have experienced tremendous loss. Both Guy and Jamie have passed. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Okay. So my husband, Guy, was the hockey coach for Oyster River High School when my children were in high school. And I volunteered a lot, just as my parents did. And my husband and I both were very involved, and he was a golf coach for nothing. I drove them around for nothing. And he decided to be, when the position opened, they were looking for a hockey coach. And my kid said, Dad, why don't you go? And so he thought about it. He was very busy being a veterinarian, but so he said, all right. So he became the coach at Oyster River, and I can't remember. I think it was his second year. I can't really remember. And I was very active in the booster club. And so I was, you know, we'd usually work a table before the hockey games and sell, you know, things with member of the booster club. And I remember walking into the rink, and the athletic director looked at me really like he was mad, looked really stern at me, and he grabbed my arm and he goes, I have to talk to you. And I'm thinking, what? And he took me in a corner of the Whittemore Center and said, Guy fell on the ice and hurt himself. They took him to the hospital. And I'm thinking, he doesn't fall on the ice. He's an unbelievable athlete. He does not. He was the best skater I'd ever met in my life.
This was during
he
a
doesn't
game.
He doesn't fall on the ice.
Right.
So I thought something is not adding up. And so he goes, it's serious. So I said, well, please go get Jesse. So my son was playing. Well, my husband was walking to the rink when it happened.
Okay.
And he had
Jesse
the first
was
aid
playing.
kit, and Jesse was in the locker room getting suited up.
Okay.
It was December 22nd, several days before Christmas. And so Jamie, I think has she followed? No, she was with me because we went Christmas shopping right before the game. And so we raced to the hospital, and the whole hockey team came to after the game, and he didn't make it. He had had a massive heart attack, and he didn't make it.
Yeah.
And I will never, ever forget the screams of my children.
Oh my gosh.
Never forget my screams of my children. And there were so many people around us because everybody from the hockey team came to the emergency room, and I went in the bathroom. I was sick to my stomach before they had even told us yet. I knew it was bad. And I'll just never forget my children and the screams. That's something I'll never forget.
Were you there when he passed, or had it?
Yes,
already
they were
happened before
working.
you
They
were
were working on. Yes, we were there. But everybody, I mean, yeah, I was in. So friends drove me to my house in Barrington, and about 100 people descended on my house. And my neighbor, one of my very best friends, said, had driven by, it was a Friday night, and said, what's going on at Lenny's house? Something's going on, and why, how come I wasn't invited?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And so then I had to call her up and tell her, and at the time I was substitute teaching in the Barrington schools and the Nottingham schools. So at the time she just did the tree list for both schools, and I had like 100 people at my house. I didn't even know what hit me. I was in absolute shock.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, did you feel like,
I didn't even.
what was that feeling, or you were just so numb?
I was numb. I mean, I cried at first, but I had to pull myself together. Like,
You had
I
two
was
little
just.
kids.
They were teenagers, and I just had to pull myself together.
How did you find that strength? Can you recall?
I think having the parents that I had, especially my father, I was very nervous about telling my parents because my husband had a very, very close relationship with my parents. I was very nervous about that because I just didn't know. And then, of course, having to tell his parents in Canada. Mm-hmm. I found a lot of strength through my father because he was kind of a rock. And not that my mother wasn't, but I think just because the foundation that I had as a childhood, growing up in this wonderful environment surrounded by all healthy people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I will tell you one thing my husband said to me. One of the reasons I married you is you're the toughest person I've ever met in my life. Mm-hmm. And he goes, you are one tough lady. I said, I am? He goes, yes, that's one of the reasons I married you. And I said, okay.
You're really
thanks a
testing
lot.
me.
Yeah. My husband always gave me a lot of confidence too. He was a real confidence, glass half full type of person with me. Mm. He was very quiet to the outside world, but with me, he was very, always gave me a lot of confidence and believed in me and, built me up, and I built him up.
Made you feel like you could do anything.
Yeah, and so did my father.
Yeah. Does Guy have a spirit that lives with you? Does he come to you in any way?
Yes, like right away he came to me in my dreams.
Really?
Like he was the best father in the world, and his kids and his family was everything to him. And one of my first dreams was watching him riding bicycles with the kids, laughing and smiling at me.
Wow.
And then he did. He came to me in my dreams a lot.
Would he talk
but
to
he
you?
never believed in life after death.
Okay.
So I'm like, please don't be stubborn about this. Please come to me. Please, I need you.
Would he talk to you in your dreams, or it would just be like different scenes?
He would just come to me in my dreams, and it would always be like a family thing.
Like a family event.
Yeah, a family, and he'd be smiling at me, and and then my daughter and I really believed. She did a post-grad year at Phillips Andover, and my kids just could barely function. I didn't even know how I could get them out of bed, but she had really good grades, and so she decided to leave her second semester at Phillips Andover. She wanted to do a post-grad because she wanted to play soccer at Dartmouth or UNH or someplace, and was just working on her soccer skills really. But she was one of the state's best female athletes in soccer and tennis, and she said, I want to come home and I want to go to UNH. She had been accepted early admittance her senior year and had chose to do the post-grad year. So she came home, and so she went to UNH, and that spring we were walking around UNH, and there was a psychic fair. So we went into this room in the Memorial Union building, and she went to one side of the building, and I went to the other, and we had completely different mediums, and they told us the same exact thing.
What did they tell you?
Well, I was worried because I buried him in Pittsfield.
Okay.
And his parents were really angry at me about that. But,
that it wasn't in
But
Canada.
Jamie and Jesse and I decided together what we were going to do and what he wanted. I knew what he wanted because we had some friends that had passed that summer, and we had talked about it. He goes, so I knew what he wanted. And he loved the town of Pittsfield. He loved the people in it. They loved him. And so I knew, but I like I said, my children and I decided what to do. And so I asked the psychic to ask him that question. He goes, don't worry about my parents. You did the right thing. I'm very happy where and same thing with Jamie. And he just, would say like private messages to both
Yeah.
Jamie and I that I'm not going to share, but
The things that
that nobody else
psychic
would
wouldn't
know.
know.
I mean, nobody would know, and so
Wow.
it was pretty cool.
wow. And
That
how
was
old,
powerful.
Yeah. How old were Jamie and Jesse at the time when he passed?
Jamie, I remember saying, "Oh my God, I'm a widow at 44 years old," and Jamie was, she was 17, and my son was 15, I think, or maybe no, 18 and 16.
So how did you keep them going? How did you get them through
I don't
it?
know how I did it. If I look back at it now, I don't
Yeah.
know how I did it because they couldn't even get out of bed, and I would have teachers call me and say, "I'm really worried about your son. I just, they would say the worst to you, and I would call the doctors and I would talk to a friend. Luckily, my neighbors, and I have the most wonderful friends in the world again. I'm very lucky. And I had 2 neighbors that I would walk with every day, and we walked maybe 3 times a day, and they all had issues. We just would walk and talk, and I journeyed the journey with them. And I was surrounded by, I was very involved in a couple of different school systems, the East River school system, the Nottingham and the Barrington school system. And I was very involved, and I did a lot of volunteer work, and they all showed up.
And got you
And
through it.
but I don't know how I did it. I really don't know. I just knew I had to. I had to do it for my children, and I had to do it for my husband. I had to do it.
That's what
The
he
love
would've-
for your children is like no other love in the world.
Do you think the kids could see your strength? Did they ever reflect that back to you, that you brought them that
I
kind
think
of
so.
foundation?
I think so.
Yeah.
They were we were really like the 3 Musketeers.
I was gonna say, how
Yeah,
did your
we were very
relationship
close.
change?
We got
You
closer.
just got so much closer.
Yeah, we got closer. Yeah, we got closer. And a lot of UNH hockey people, a lot of friends just really
got you through.
got you through. I mean, friends were the ones that got me through it.
And it's so interesting because I feel like throughout this conversation, you keep saying, and I met this person when I was 25 and they're still my best friend to this day.
It's so true.
So they really get you
Yeah,
through.
they've always been there. I've been very blessed that way. And I know when the Goodrow brothers, the hockey brothers, they passed away. They passed away by a drunk driver hit them while they were bicycle riding the night before their sister was to get married. And the hockey community has stuck by them. When they won the gold medal, they brought the Goodrow children out on the ice with them. They had Johnny Goodrow's banner there, his jersey, and Maddie Goodrow. They remember him, and the same was true with me. The hockey community is like a fraternity. They don't leave you.
Yeah.
And the UNH hockey community, the coach Holt, Charlie Holt, Dick Humilly, and Johnny Gray were the first ones at my door. Some of the first ones at my door.
Yeah.
And Gordy Clark, and they never left.
Right.
They were there and they never left, and they're still
by your side.
They're still by my side,
Yeah.
and they're still good friends.
Yeah.
And so the hockey community was really important to us, and really took Jesse under the UNH hockey team.
Yeah.
And Dick Humilly and Johnny Gray became fathers.
Yeah.
They became fathers.
Did you have any people in your life that didn't
Yes,
show up for you?
Yes.
And how was that? Were you even realizing in the moment, like, where
They
is
did it
this
first.
person?
They did it first.
Okay.
And then after a month. But this isn't funny, funny, but it's strange because I had 2 friends that had gone through the same thing before me. And I had helped them. My best friend from Ontario Veterinary College, we all went, our husbands graduated together. We had daughters a week apart. When she graduated, when Howie graduated, they moved back to Montreal. He died 6 months after he graduated.
Wow. So
And
you had helped her through
I had
that.
helped her. Guy and I had helped her through it. And then one of my best friends, who was my neighbor, her husband was in the persistent vegetative state for many years. And Guy and I, they moved in with us. We helped them. And we just never left her. And her family became our family. So I saw everything that they went through. And like I said, I always thought I was here to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had like, I'm not kidding you, I had like 100, I had 100 some odd people come by my house for weeks. It was really hard for me to accept because I always felt I was put on earth to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you have to let other people help you when it's time. And it was kind of hard at first, but I needed the help.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not say no to it because I know my kids needed it.
Yeah.
And not
It's
to
very
get,
lonely. It's a very humbling experience, and it's a very lonely experience.
and not to get into specifics, but you did have some surprises of people who didn't show up for you, as Lindsay was saying. Why do you have any sense of why that is? Because you and I have talked about that recently.
Yes, we have talked
where you go
about
through some of your hardest moments, and the people you think would show up aren't there.
It's very surprising. But, you know, you just learn not to focus on that anymore, and you just focus on the people that are there.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like anything that's positive and wholesome and wonderful is in my life for my kids. I was very protective. And that was pretty much 99.9% of everybody. But the few that weren't, you can't control it.
Yeah.
And so you just
Let it go.
you let it go, and you focus on the people that are there for you, because you don't have energy for that.
Yeah.
It was very, very hurtful. And I won't say who it was, but
Yeah.
it was surprising who it was. And I don't even know if they know. I think they do, but.
So grief has come knocking again on your door in a big way with Jamie's loss.
A big way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie was how old when she passed?
So first of all, it was a shock in my life that I ever lost my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was in such a state of shock for so long. I couldn't even cry at the funeral because I was in such a state of shock.
Mm-hmm.
And I really was trying to hold it together for my kids, my parents, because I knew my parents were worried about me. I'm always thinking about how other people, you know. But when it ever happens to a child, your child, that is just like, your soul leaves your body.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
So we found out my daughter had lupus. She was one of the best tennis players and soccer players in the state when she was in high school. And she wasn't feeling very good. She played tennis her freshman year at UNH instead of soccer, but she wasn't feeling very good, so she went to the doctors and found out she had lupus. We didn't even know what lupus was.
Right.
It's like, what is this? And so this doctor, you know, I mean, I grew up in a glass half full family. My father was like Mr. Positivity. You know, everything was, you know, and so I just was surrounded by happiness.
Right.
And so, when they told my daughter, one doctor told my daughter, and not in a nice way, that she could never have kids, her life was going to be awful, blah, 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 blah. I said, don't listen to her. We're going to find another doctor.
And
We're going to investigate this. You will do all these things. Don't you? I'm going to make sure of it. You know, mothers, we want to fix everything.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about it. We're going to be fine.
And what is lupus? Can you just say, like, quickly
Lupus is an autoimmune disease that your cells attack your own body.
Okay.
And it is an invisible disease, and it's a terrible, terrible disease because there's no cure for it. And it takes a long time for the doctors to even diagnose you. And along with lupus becomes other diseases like connective tissue disorder, Sjogren's. There's so many other diseases that go along with it. It's in the arthritis family. Okay. But we didn't know anybody that had lupus.
Right. And she was so young.
What
were her symptoms that made her go to the doctor? Do you remember?
She got some mouth sores in high school, and she got really run down because she was doing soccer and tennis and all sorts of things. And she went out for everything like I did in high school, and she got really run down, and she got sick, and then she just didn't really feel very good. Yeah. And so she was at the age where she was starting to have physicals every year, and in one of the blood works, she wasn't feeling very good, and it came out in her blood work, and so they sent her that there was something the matter, so they sent her to a specialist, and they found out, and I just couldn't even believe it. Yeah. I couldn't believe it, and so she got really Luckily, she married the love of her life. I gave her a beautiful wedding. I didn't care how much it cost. I said, I'm going to give her a beautiful wedding. I sold a plot of land that said, people said, you'll never be able to sell that. I said, watch me. And I did it. I was bound and determined to give her a beautiful wedding. And she and her husband moved. They lived in Portland, Oregon. She was getting her master's degree in counseling. And she got a really, really good job working as a kind of like a social worker for Native American children, and traveling around, a research assistant traveling around the country, studying nutrition and different things for Native American children and making sure they got what they wanted. So she had a really good job. And so when she got pregnant in Portland, Oregon, she went to a high-risk doctor, and she had 2 beautiful pregnancies, 2 beautiful grandsons. Also, 2 of the happiest days of my life when my grandsons were born.
Jack and Sam.
And so a lot of trips to Oregon. I took a lot of time off when each baby was born, even though I was working 24/7 at the Alumni Center at UNH, which I loved my job. But, my daughter was far away.
Right.
And my son was a professional golfer by this time, so he was all over the place. But then she got really, really sick, and it kept getting worse. And I said, I'm going to quit my job and come out and help you. And she goes, no, please don't come until I need you. And then I got a call from her husband. She actually called me in the morning and said, Mom, they found out what's the matter with me, and I'm going into emergency surgery right away. There's been an infection in my spinal cord. So I didn't hear. And I said, I'm coming right now. She goes, wait until I need you. And so her husband called me that night and said, they don't know if she's going to live through the night. You need to get here immediately. So I got on a plane. My friends packed me. I got the first flight out, and it was just a nightmare. It was a living nightmare for several months. I just took a leave of absence from work, and my wonderful friends at work again took very good care of me. I won't say the leadership on one part of the was the most compassionate, but my friends made sure that the other side of the leadership did take care of me.
Yeah.
And Tina actually helped with that as well, I believe, that you helped advocate for me.
I might have had to intervene.
Yeah.
I do remember that now that you
but
say
Debbie
that.
Dutton,
Yeah.
I give her a lot of credit, and Sandy Cooney.
Yeah.
Sandy Cooney did a lot to help me, and Gabby, who was my student worker, was my hero. And Debbie Dutton really took good care of me, made sure she was head of university advancement, and Sandy Cooney, my best friend, made sure that I had what I needed at work, and I would talk to her a lot. But it was every day we didn't know if she was dying. Lupus is such a complex disease, and so finally I called my son. I said, you need to come out. And I was like hysterical. I said, you need to come. And he got on a plane and he came out, and he goes, Mom, you can't even explain to anybody what's going on here. Yeah. So we started a family chain. My cousin Pam, who was my Bobsy twin, my son would draft an email, and Pam would put it out to all the family, and then I would maybe text 1 or 2 friends, and they would just tell everybody. But a lot of people didn't even know it was happening, because it was life or death every hour. And watching her suffer, I've never seen anybody fight to live. She never complained. My husband's nickname for her was Sweets, because she was a sweet, sweet little girl. And she never, ever complained. You talk about tough. She is the epitome of a warrior. I called her my little warrior. And she never complained. She was dying from one minute her heart would give way, or her lungs would give way, her organs were failing. And then they would do all these things, and the next minute they'd give her something and she would be okay. And so, believe me, I was on fire, and it's like, do not mess with me. I was on fire. I was reaching out to every expert I knew. My son was researching everybody. We were researching the doctors. The nurses knew. I mean, I had talks with those nurses and doctors, like,
nonstop.
I used the social worker a lot. I needed a lot of therapy myself, and I used a social worker in the hospital, and it was a terrible, terrible time. It was awful.
No other way to describe it.
So she was in the hospital for those months.
Yeah, several months, and it was, and like my son said, you can't describe.
Yeah.
And we really didn't let anybody up. My cousin Penny, who lived out in Portland too, was wonderful, but she would bring us food to the hospital, but we couldn't even allow her in. Because from one hour to the next, and I stayed at the hospital with her every night. So between her husband Christian, my son Jesse, and I, we had a rotating schedule, but I really never wanted to leave her, but I would leave her to go home and take a shower and then come back because somebody had to be with the boys. So, but I would never leave her because I had a notebook and I wrote down everything.
Like updates on.
I wrote down everything, what they said and her, just everything.
Were you able to say goodbye in any way?
Not really. She was unconscious when she passed. She had to have a last-minute emergency surgery. And one of her best friends, who is like a daughter to me and forever, I mean, she and Jamie was Jamie's first friend when she was out in Portland and baby boot camp, and their sons are best friends. Anyway, she came to the hospital and she goes, "Oh my God, Lynn." So when they were getting ready for her last operation, there were like 20 doctors in this little teeny room. And I knew, I mean, I just knew it wasn't good. And I wanted to make sure that her husband had time with her,
Yeah.
And her sons?
No. They were 11 and 13, and they didn't even know what was going on. We couldn't tell them.
So they were home.
They were home.
Oh, gosh.
And, the doctors, I mean, there was a lot of hope at sometimes. I'm not going to get into everything that happened, but we just kept telling the boy she's going to be okay. So when it did happen, I never, ever thought, I never believed that anything would happen to her. Because, my son and I, many a night would be there, like, doing everything we could to save her life.
Yeah.
And never did I ever once really think it would happen. And when it did, I went into complete and total shock.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Funny how the universe works. But my college roommate, who was one of my best friends to this day, she happened to be in Portland, Oregon with her daughter at a wedding. She'd only been in Portland, Oregon once.
How crazy.
And she called me up and I told her what was going on. Hardly anybody knew.
Yeah.
Except a very few friends. And she said, I have to come up. And I said, "Oh, no, I don't think it's the time for you to be here." And so I asked my son-in-law, "What do you think?" He goes, "Lynn, absolutely." So she came up and she was with me that night. Now, what are the chances of that?
Yeah.
She lives in Arlington, Virginia. What are the chances? And I was with her when her mom died. Not that night, but anyways, what are the chances of that? And after she saw what I went through, she said, "I will never leave your side.
Yeah.
I will never, ever leave your side." Anyways.
It's like you have a network of angels
that
you're a part of.
That's exactly what it is. It's a network of angels. And to this day, I still can't believe it happened.
I know.
I mean, I couldn't even get out of bed.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of bed. I actually had my son sleep with me and hold me. You know? And I just...
But there was a moment where you decided to get back up.
But her friends were incredible. Her friends are like my friends. Jamie had made the most incredible community of friends. And they surrounded us with love like I've never seen. Well, I have, because I have those kind of friends.
Right.
Yeah.
But those, and her friends are my friends to this day. I was out there for 6 months. And, out of a lot of sadness comes beauty. You find there's good people everywhere in life.
Yeah.
And
what's one thing you want us to know about Jamie before we
she was a beautiful,
leave this topic?
kind heart, beautiful, loving, sweet girl. And who loved her children and her husband more than anything. And I'm glad that she got, her dreams came true, most of them, almost all of them.
Yeah.
But she was a sweet girl, and that's why that's what that heart is for. And I know you have one too.
Yes.
So.
And she's your angel, just in
she
a different
is my
place.
angel.
I was going to say, does she come through?
Yeah, she does.
In your dreams?
She does.
Wow.
I say good morning. I say good night. I talk to her. I talk to my husband. I talk to my parents. I talk to my daughter a lot.
Yeah.
And my husband a lot. And it's really strange because sometimes when you think you can't go on,
right,
like in the early days after
Something
my
will
husband
happen.
passed, and I had to find a new job. I had to find a new career. I was a substitute teacher. I had to find a whole new life after my husband passed. And it was survival every day, financially, in every way.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I didn't think I could pay a bill or when I didn't think I could make it, something would always magically appear and somehow. So I have a lot of angels working for me.
Yes, you do. And
Yes.
you see Jamie also through feathers, right? Or she
Yes,
comes
I
to
do.
you in the form
Yes,
of
I
feathers.
do. And that happened. So I lived with Jamie's family, Christian, her husband, and her children, for 6 months. But I would try to give them a break on the weekends. I would go out to my cousin Penny, who grew up in Rochester, New York, and we would spend our whole summers together at Lake Sunapee. So we're like siblings,
Right.
very close. And Penny saved my life too. I would go out. She lives in the country, which I love. We're nature people. We like to hike. And so Penny would counsel me a lot because she was a counselor. And we were walking around this vineyard up on a hill. And all of a sudden, this feather was very, very prominent. Native American culture, feathers. I know my daughter was very spiritual. I'm very spiritual. And I said, Penny and I both looked at it at the same time, and I go, oh my gosh.
It's Jamie.
She's starting to leave me messages. And after that, Sam, my youngest grandson, and I believed in that. We would find feathers everywhere. Once I went with Penny to her tennis club, and it was all outside. It was all cement.
Okay.
And there was the biggest feather I've ever found in my life. It wasn't there
sitting
when I
there.
went in, and I wasn't even in there very long, and I came out and it was there, and I couldn't wait to tell Penny about it. I couldn't wait to tell Sam about it. I believe in this.
Yeah.
She sends me messages. She does.
Is this one of the things that you think helps you stay positive?
Yes, I'll tell you one thing that actually saved my life. A couple of my friends sent me books right after she passed. And one of the books, Karen Atherton, who is a dear, dear friend of mine, Jesse's third grade teacher, who became one of my best friends because I was a class homework mother, and I became very good friends with her. Her son, Jamie,
Okay.
all same name,
Yeah.
passed away early in his life from cancer. And I helped her, and then Karen was there for me. She sent me a book that helped her, and it's called Proof of Life.
Okay.
And that book saved my life.
Proof of life.
Proof of Life. And it's about a doctor who died and went to heaven and came back. And I've heard this from several different people. Several different doctors have written books about this, and that saved my life.
What's one thing you can think of from that book that you
Because there is
carry with
heaven.
you?
And I will see her again. That's what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right, you are going to make me cry.
Well, I've been quietly weeping over here for the last
I do believe I'm going to
10
see her
minutes.
again. And my loved ones, Guy and my parents and everybody else.
Do you think therapy helped you a lot? Or was it... Or do you think
My
your
therapy
friends
is
just got
walking
you?
and talking with my friends.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
I did
traditional
go to therapy. I have gone to therapy, and I probably still need it again to help my grandchildren, because not only did I lose my
Right.
husband and watch my children grieve, but I lost my daughter, and I'm watching my grandchildren grieve.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest thing you have to do in your life.
Right.
And I still need therapy.
Yeah.
I think it's a really healthy thing to do. So, but I do have wonderful friends that I talk to. My cousin's a therapist, and I talk to her a lot. And I constantly need therapy. You know.
But it comes in different forms.
It comes in different forms. Yeah. But my friends, we're all walkers and we're all talkers. And it's unbelievable though, because they've all had. One of my best friends has lost a child and went through that. You know, they've all been through hard things in their life.
Right.
And we're all really close, and we all support each other.
So I think our main goal in this podcast is that everybody has stuff. in their life, you know? Everybody goes through hard things.
Yes.
And there's a lot of times where...
Excuse me for doing this, but
That's okay.
that's what crying does to me.
where it might feel very isolating.
Yes.
So what would you say if somebody's watching this and they've just lost their spouse or their child? Do you have anything that you would say to them to help them get them through or help?
Yeah, you know, grief is different for everybody. It takes a different journey and a different path, and everybody grieves differently. And you grieve like my children and I mean, you grieve the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Time does help, but I think the most important thing that somebody told me was have somebody journey the journey with you. Mm. Somebody that you feel close to, somebody that you can share with and that you feel safe with. Mm-hmm. I think journeying the journey is, if you feel comfortable with that, is really helpful. And that time does help, but, you know.
You can't, it'll never
no
replace.
No. And that grief is different for everybody. Mm. And everybody grieves differently. And that it doesn't ever go away. Mm-hmm. Like, I grieve every day.
Right.
Mm-hmm. My daughter.
Yeah.
There isn't a second that goes by in a day that I'm not thinking about her.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
It's not like you can ever get back to who you were. You're just learning to live with.
Yeah, I'm a new
people.
person. You know, I feel like I'm the same person, but I'm probably not. Mm-hmm. And I do think about my husband a lot every day. I think about my parents, obviously, but I was a widow at 44 years old, you know, and then I lost my daughter young. Mm-hmm. And who thinks they're going to go through that? No. But I really think having the childhood that I had and being surrounded by strong, loving people helped me a lot. I feel like my father guides me a lot.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that when it's all said and done for you, your outlook, your reflection on life is still one of happiness.
I was going to say, did you ever go through an angry phase? Like, were you ever like, what the fuck is happening?
I did. That's all part of grief. Mm-hmm. And if you don't go through it, I would worry.
Right.
You know? I definitely did. I live every single day. I live my life with gratitude every day. And I look at the glass half full. And I look at things. I look at what I do have, not what I don't have. Because I've had so much taken away from me. And I mean, a lot of people have. I'm not just trying to make it about myself. But that I just feel anything that I have left, I'm just so grateful for. And people sometimes think, why are you so happy all the time? It's because I know anything can be gone like that. And like I tell everybody, I love them, I hug them. It's because I know it can be gone in an instant. And life is so fragile. Mm-hmm. And I live my life with gratitude. Yeah. I'm so happy. Little things make me so happy. You know, people make me, relationships, not things, it's like relationships.
Little situations,
people. People make me happy, you know. Relationships are so important. And, you know, try to help other people out because you never know what they're going through. But
well, there's a theme of real generational happiness and positivity.
Glass half full.
In your existence through your parents and through your children. And
I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm one of the lucky ones. I knew at a very early age, and I remember being up on the porch at Lake Sunapee with my grandparents all around and my cousins all around and water skiing and sun fishing and, you know, just playing kick the can. I just knew I had it good. I knew I was lucky. I knew how good I had it. I can't say everybody knew that. But I did.
Yeah.
Let's do a little bragging about Lynn. What are you most proud of in your life?
That I've survived all of this.
Yeah.
That I've survived all of this and I've found a wonderful community of friends. And you're one of my best friends.
Oh, one of my best friends.
And Lindsay's my new best friend.
New bestie. Right. Yeah. I was going to ask how... I feel like a lot of people that go through things like you've been through might have a hard time taking themselves out of that like victim mentality. did you ever feel like, why me? Why is this happening to me? And did you make a conscious choice to be like, I just have to keep going. I just have to.
I think I made a conscious choice to keep going. I had seen, I know it happens every day all around the world.
Right.
You
And
know?
it will happen to
And it's
everybody.
happened to close friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, terrible things happen all the time. I just never had been exposed to a lot of it
Mm-hmm.
because I had such a wonderful life, but have a lot of bad things happen in my town, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a lot of friends in high school that died in drinking and driving accidents and things like that. But I just I love deeply, and I love my children so much. I wanted to give them the life that I had, you know, and now I want to do that for my grandchildren. And it's really hard because they live far away, and I'm the mother-in-law, but I try the best I can, and I hope they know how much I love them.
If we could take this conversation and bring it to what's happening in the world today with so much divisiveness, warring, what is one belief you have about being a human that you wish more people would hold on to today?
There's not a lot of humanity left in the world. And the other thing I want to say is my son has been my rock for years, since my husband passed. My son has been my rock. He is gone through so much. It's not just about me. Not only did I lose my husband, but my son lost his father
And
at
his
a young
sister.
age, and they were best friends. And his sister was his best friend, and how he's managed to go through all this, and how we've leaned on each other, you know. And he's so good about telling me, "I'm so proud of you, Mom," and I'm like, "I'm so proud of you," and you know, he's been my rock, and I'm so lucky that I have him. But where the world is today, there's no humanity anymore. There's so much greed, and really, life is pretty simple. It's just like, it's really about love and relationships and giving to other people. It's just like when I grew up in my little town. It's like everybody helped everybody else out. And if you want to find the kindest people in the world, go to Pittsfield, New Hampshire. They are the kindest people in the world.
And I think what I hear you saying is everybody deserves a life like that.
Yes.
No matter where you come from, what your beliefs are, everybody deserves the childhood, the upbringing that you experienced.
And that brings a good point, because I never had any prejudice toward anybody, because I didn't grow up with a lot of diversity. My father especially was always for the underdog, and he always loved everybody. It didn't matter who it was. And we were just brought up, we just love everybody. And so the concept of anything other than loving each other is so foreign to any of us. It's like, and if you go back to Pittsfield, to any of the people that I grew up with, they will all say the same thing. We knew we grew up in happy days. You know, we just had so much fun, but the world needs more small town kindness. Just humanity again.
Yeah. Empathy.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go through some fun rapid fire questions. Do you want to lead us through that?
Okay, so this is like quick one word or short answers.
Okay.
First thing that comes to your head. Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Coffee or tea?
Neither.
Beach or mountains?
Ooh.
Tough one for
Both.
Lynn Smith.
Both? Okay. Favorite New England season?
Summer.
Favorite comfort meal?
Nachos.
That's a good one. Something people don't know about working for an airline?
It's exhausting work. It is physically, it's exhausting.
Window seat or aisle seat?
Window.
A smell that reminds you of childhood?
Hay.
Favorite simple pleasure?
Ice cream. Always.
One thing grief has taught you about love?
Love hurts.
But it's worth it?
It's worth it.
Something people often misunderstand about grief?
that you get over it fast. It's lifelong. It's lifelong.
One thing you wish people would say to someone grieving.
I'm thinking about you.
Something that always makes you laugh.
My friends.
We love to laugh, don't we?
A hobby you'd love to master.
Knitting.
You can't knit?
Oh,
I'm not a
New
very
one.
good knitter.
I can
and I
teach
can't
you.
sit still long enough. I'm
You're busy.
I'm busy.
You have
I
things to
got
do.
things to do.
Yeah. One small thing you're grateful for today.
Life.
Okay, and last one. One word you want listeners to leave this episode with.
Gratitude.
That's so good. Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you guys. It's my pleasure, and I love you both so much.
We love you.
I appreciate you so much, and I'm so grateful. I'm gonna cry that you're both in my life.
Oh, thanks for coming on and
Thank
talking
you.
about
I don't know why
everything.
anybody would want to know about my life, but thank you.
You have given us
Stop.
so much, given everybody so much.
I just know that I'm blessed.
All right, well, that wraps our episode with
That
Lynn
was
Smith
fun.
at our table.
Yay!
That was fun.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you so much.